sure everybody here is seeing Les Miserables, either on the stage, movie. How many read the book, I won't ask. But if you read Victor Hugo's book, and you did, you will have heard this phrase: greater than the marching of armies is an idea whose time has come. I want to talk to you about an idea whose time has come. It's already here. But the way to tell you what that idea is, I'll just tell you a story. This is a story that starts out as a true story, because I do have a granddaughter named Allie who's 15. But I'm going to move ahead to 2025. And Allie and I are going to be having a conversation. By that time, I'll really be ancient. And the conversation is going to go like this. She's already finished her MD, PhD. She is ready now to finish law school. And the reason, while she was doing her PhD studies, she realized that law is about 20 years behind research science on all kinds of laws. And she realized that if she could have a law degree, she could continue her research, which has to do with biointelligence, and work for one of the supreme law firms of the entire world, creating new opportunities for the legal system to catch up with science, which it's always doing. And so she took law school, and now she has to face her exams, and she's going to get qualified to practice if she can get through this. And I asked her, well, how's it going? What's the problems, any? And she said, the only problem I'll have, remember this, 2025, is that I'll be competing with the enhanced ones. I said, the what? The enhanced ones. And she will stand there and having to do her oral exams next to somebody who has also got the oral exams before the same body. And the other person who's enhanced will literally have a machine in the brain, a computer in the brain, who can Google any information they want without moving or touching anything in their body. And it just seems incredible. It's not fair. And I said, that's not fair. And Allie said, well, I guess I'll just have to be creative. Meanwhile, life goes on. The enhanced ones are coming into our midst right now. You've all heard of DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Programs Agency. DARPA's motto is this: accelerating the future into being. I think every person right here, right now, wants to do that. Accelerate the future into being. But it wants to be a future you want to happen. You get to choose. You get to work for. You're incentivized to use your creativity to create this kind of future. But the enhanced human being is already coming. We want to tell you about how some of that is. By the way, what has DARPA done for you? DARPA put man on the moon. Of course, the next generation will be men and women. But DARPA was given, that's how they got started. We got behind with Sputnik, we formed DARPA, and Americans were first on the moon. DARPA brought you GPS. DARPA brought you the laser. It's used everywhere. It's used just yesterday at LaGuardia trying to blind a pilot landing a plane. They don't know who did it yet. But the lasers are tough. They're also very good. DARPA brought you, of course, the internet. And that's changed everything. Now, out of this, I want to talk about 5 areas very quickly in which the human being is being enhanced right now. And we will begin with a little company called Centaur, after the Greek mythology. And this business was started by startup funds from DARPA. And they now work in what is called the Anthiogenesis program, in which they are contravening natural body developments of disease. And they call it uncommon pathogen countermeasures. And what they are doing, as described by one of the scientists in the program, when your DNA is not functioning correctly and it's producing a disease, If you could just throw logs on the railroad track and stop that train, you have disrupted it, and that's why they call it the countermeasures. They're effective right now in their trials with malaria, with the common flu, with the plague. They are making great headways on 12 diseases right now, and it's going to move on to dozens more. And with this particular kind of program of Centaur based in Silicon Valley, you will see the human being enhanced in many ways. I want to move next to an office of IBM in the Silicon Valley that is working with the Blue Gene computer that IBM developed 2 years ago. This computer can click out information at this rate: 1,000 trillion information bits per second. That's a 1 with 15 zeros per second. And what that allows research scientists to do in the lab is to create a virtual lab that can literally watch proteins fold, the common building blocks of everything that lives, to watch proteins fold in the supersonic rate this happens, with every nuance to it, and create a 3D picture of this and study how they fold and create the desirable things in life and the less desirable, disease. And all of this is possible because of this new reality of putting the laboratory in a computer. That's got to be this kind of computer. It's changing everything about how we're going to see the future and how disease is solved in our future and how the human being and all of life will be potentially enhanced. The third little company, a spin-off of DARPA influence and ideas and money, is a little company called Renat. Renat has created a vaccine for pain. It's so sophisticated, it's only certain kinds of pain. And we have some great doctors right here, right now. Joan, it's good to have you here. You know that your patients and your clients and the people you've studied and researched, the kind of pain that really hurts is the inflammatory pains associated with so many diseases. But this particular company has found how to isolate that from the kind of pain we have to have, and all of this is done by DARPA money to start with, so it has to have some kind of combatant defense purpose. So a soldier could get hit, get the injection, the pain stops in 10 seconds, that pain medicine will work, that vaccine for 30 days, but that particular individual, that woman or man on the battlefield, can feel heat and know to move their hand. It's a different kind of pain. So this kind of thing is going on constantly around us by the thousands and thousands of companies just in this country alone. But this kind of research for enhancing the human being is going on all over the world. Now, the reality is this. Everybody here is interested in the GDP of not only this country, but the whole world, because we want to have a gross domestic product. We all live off of it. But we also want it to increase and grow. 75% of the new GDP, the increase in the GDP of America, 75% over the next 10 years will come from the green technologies. Genetics, of course, robotics, information technology, and nanotechnology. 75% of the growth of everything. And worldwide will follow us soon. So it's a tremendous opportunity, but it's also a tremendous challenge of how we go about this enhancement of the human being and the life around us. So the next little company we'll move to actually comes out of University of Wisconsin. Every university, including the one represented here today, and I hope they're doing well in the fourth quarter. The first two quarters were kind of ugly. But OU slid ahead at halftime, and I'm sure they're doing well now, I hope. So at any rate, out of the University of Wisconsin, many, many companies have flourished. The Wisconsin Alumni Fund has raised close to $1 billion just in selling the information from its science, close to $1 billion. And it's going to be more, just from one school. But they have one little program called the photobiomodulation. Now what's interesting about this, it seems so simple. We talked about the laser developed by DARPA. Now a laser rifle is very dangerous. It's silent, you can put out things, you can start fires, you can put out eyes of combatants. And this one used yesterday at LaGuardia was some guy on the ground who was trying to blind pilots landing commercial jets yesterday. The laser's very powerful. But if you just step back in the frequency off of the infrared frequency to a near infrared frequency, that same tool has healing purposes. And that's the photobiomodulation that is developed at the University of Wisconsin. And we're talking about a healing that's so dramatic, it's like miracle healing. Cartilage, 4 or 5 days. Wounds, like wounds from gun bullets, hours. And the wound is healed. Phenomenal healing. The applications have a multitude of applications, especially in this day and age of diabetics and amputations and so on, for the kind of generational problems that we have right now. But the enhancement of the human being just through this healing process of using photobiomodulation, just one of tens of thousands of the new world in which we live. Now, the fifth one, and there's only 5 examples that I shall use, and that has to do with biointelligence. That's going to change, it is changing everything already. That takes us back to where Allie was, as she's facing other lawyers taking the same exam who have been enhanced. Now, biointelligence seems so simple when you start looking at the applications on an ad seriatim basis. And for example, we all have heard of the cochlear implants. There's 45,000 in Americans today. I was talking to a group of scientists about this next step that I'm going to explain, of how we are developing a computer that fits in the brain, and we're mentioning a particular program that DARPA's already funded, and it's coming into being, and that is a cochlear implant that works as a translator. It hears just like the ones do now. That's not new information or new technology. But it'll hear, if you were 50 different languages here, it could hear each of the 50 different languages, and what you hear inside through your auditory nerves has already been translated into, in this case, English. TEDxLakeAluma English for me. And I could be in a room with 50, 60 different languages and understand every single one. That seems like magic is already happening. Now think of the retinal implant. It'd be great if I had eyes of an eagle, and eagles, we're told, can see the eye of a rabbit from, 5,000 feet. That's a mile away. Is it possible for us to develop a lens that, yes, we already have them. But what about a retinal implant where a human being has that? And it actually functions with the optic nerve. It has and it will. And a company's already formed to do it. The enhanced human being. Now, if you just look at the 5 examples I've shown you, 3 of them affect 3 of the 5 senses that we have. It is through central perception that we learn and see and do everything. And we've already shown you ways to enhance 3 of them, and I won't go through the others except to say there's a group of scientists gathered around, started with the Aspen Institute. It's about 30+ universities, all Tier 1 universities in research. And they call themselves gig.u, as in university. Just gig, G-I-G, .u. And this is a very select group. But they are already working together in a collegium that will take all the data of all the research labs that they can get data from worldwide and combine it with their computers so that they can start mining the information that's already here that needs to be mined. The information that exists in our society today is like a gold mine that hasn't not yet been tapped. Now, this group has this to say about all the research going on in all the world today. From now, 2013 to 2020, the amount of the data, they are going to increase by 44x. is so mammoth, nobody can even understand it, except if you work in large collaborative organizations like GigU. So the enhancement of all things for our future are manifold. I want to close with two comments. One has to do with the prescient side of how great this is going to be, and the idea comes from Buckminster Fuller, one of the great long-range thinkers of another generation. He said, let's be architects of the future and not its victims. And that's exactly what we're talking about. Get a hold of the information. Be architects of the future, not its victim. But I'm also reminded, on the other hand, what keeps this from being misused? And there's nothing to stop that, because all knowledge is power, and all power can be used for good or for ill. That's just the way it works. That's nothing new in the history of Homo sapien. So remember what C.S. Lewis said. You can increase knowledge, but when knowledge is increased without increasing our sense of value, we only create a more clever devil. And thank you very much.